Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and welcome back to another Friday Reads and Rambles. So, as always, we're going to start with what I have been reading this week, and then I'll ramble for a bit. So, the first thing, I guess I haven't been reading, I've been stopping reading, is Lord of the Rings. So I've been doing a reread of this on audiobook. Very much enjoying it, enjoying the narration, enjoying all of the nostalgia and warm familiarity of this book. But I had just finished The Fellowship of the Ring, and I was just going to start in on The Two Towers. So it seemed like a good point to actually stop because, it was a good point to stop if I was going to stop. And the reason that I decided to stop was because of another book that I'm reading. So I have talked about this, The Dragon Bone Chair. So this is the first in a trilogy called Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Rick McDonnell has been leading a read-along of The Dragon Bone Chair by Tad Williams, starting with, or of this whole series, starting with The Dragon Bone Chair in January. So this is like an epic fantasy trilogy, and I was really excited to join in, but it wasn't bad. It was fine, but I was kind of wondering if reading this physical copy alongside listening to the audiobook of Lord of the Rings was really not fair to this book, because I love Lord of the Rings. I'm very familiar with it. I'm a pretty big Tolkien geek. I'm not as big as they come, but I'm a pretty big Tolkien geek, and those books are just like a warm hug to me, like the Lord of the Rings. And I didn't think it was fair to pair this new epic fantasy that I'm not familiar with an old favorite. I don't think it was giving this book the proper space in my brain that was fair. So I decided to stop listening to the Lord of the Rings so that I could give this more attention, I guess, and let it kind of breathe on its own to see if that would help. And I don't know if that's what helped, or if it's just that the story is starting to pick up because we're moving past the more intense world building and into more of some of the plot. So I don't know which one it is, but I'm still going to lay off of Lord of the Rings. For now, I might pick it back up in another week or two, but I am enjoying this more. I'm still not feeling yeah, this is going to be great. I'm totally into it. But it was on page 91. I remember specifically on page 91 where I'm okay, things are starting to happen. I can see this starting to go somewhere. This is getting more interesting. And now I am, where am I? I'm on page 170. I'm behind the pace of the read along, but that's fine. I am 10 pages away from part 2. And I think Rick posted a little update on part 1 maybe almost a week ago now. So I'm about a week behind the pace, but that's okay. I don't really care. I just care that I think it was the right move to kind of give this book more attention. So I've been enjoying this a lot more now. Another thing I've been reading is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I've been buddy reading this with Courtney Ferreter, and I'm glad that I've decided to buddy read this. I think it's adding to my enjoyment immensely. So both Courtney and I, when we did our first check-in last Saturday, we both had a lot of similar thoughts, and one of them being, we're not sure if this is supposed to be funny or not. It definitely is. There are some just wild scenes when the narrator, Ishmael, meets another character, Queequeg, for the first time. It's like a scene out of a sitcom. I'm not going to say too much about this because I'm actually vlogging my experience reading this book for a project that I've decided to do this year. So I don't want to say like too much about that, and you're not going to see that video for probably a couple months because we're not that far into the book yet. So I don't want to share too many of my thoughts, but it's like a lot of this is funny, and we're still not quite sure. Like, you know, sometimes you read a classic and something strikes you as funny and you can't quite put your finger on, was this meant to be satirical or like tongue-in-cheek, or did they actually think this? Like, sometimes it's hard to kind of draw that line, or kind of like figure out if something's supposed to be comedic. And like huge swaths of this, I'm just like, wow, that's hilarious. Did Melville mean for that to be funny? I'm not sure. But I am immensely enjoying this. I thought this was going to be so dry and boring. We have not got to the chapter yet on whale anatomy. There is like a famous chapter in Moby Dick where it's just like, I don't know how many pages, and the entire chapter is just like whale anatomy. Haven't gotten there yet. Anyway, I am enjoying this experience a lot more than I thought I would. And the last book I just started because now that I've stopped listening to the Lord of the Rings audiobook, it's freed up my listening space, because I listen to audiobooks like in my car or like while I'm doing like folding laundry or whatever, right? So I usually have like an audiobook or podcast or something on the go. So because I wasn't listening to Lord of the Rings, I figured, well, I might as well pick up another audiobook. And I had mentioned wanting to read Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Basterica. And the audiobook was available through Scribd. So I thought, perfect, I'll read this. I wasn't sure if I was going to actually get to that book this month because it's pretty dark. It's about, it's a dystopian where a class of people basically have been created to be like slaughtered as meat. And it's a society where cannibalism is normalized, but that this group of people are not seen as human anymore. So I thought the premise was fairly interesting, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get to it because people said it's really gross. It's kind of like a horror dystopian, and obviously really dark, and January tends to be, I often suffer from like seasonal depression, or I just feel really low in January, so I tend not to read really dark things, but I'm feeling really good this January. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go, and if it's too much, I can just like put it down and get to it later. So I did start that audiobook, and I'm having mixed feelings, and I wasn't expecting this. Everyone has raved about this book. It sounds like something that would be totally up my alley. I enjoy horror. I enjoy dystopian. I don't mind very dark things in books. Actually, I read a lot of really dark books, and that's fine, and I like that. But this, I'm going to delay like any big judgment on this book because I'm only about, I think, maybe 20-25% of the way through the book, maybe more like a third now, but like no more than that. So I'm not very deep into the book. So things could go a million and one different directions. So I'm going to postpone any judgment. But I have some issues. Like overall, it's fine. Writing's good. The premise is like interesting. Like the horror elements are like actually horrific, and like it's, you know, it's disturbing. But how the book is handling certain ideas has me a bit troubled. I don't want to really say much more yet because, like I said, I'm not very far into the book, and things may change and it might not turn out how I think it's going to turn out. But basically, I'm not sure what the author's point is yet. She could be making one of 2 points, and if she's making the point I think she's making, I have some real problems with that. And if she's not, and she's making a different point, then that might be fine. So I'm going to plug on with it, and once I'm done or farther into the book, I might be able to elaborate this better, because I don't want to jump the gun in this video and say like, well, this book is saying like this and this, and like that rubbed me the wrong way, because that might not actually be what she's trying to do in this book, and I just might need to give it some time. But like I said, the writing's fine, pacing's good, like it's just what the purpose of this narrative is what might be troubling to me. So we're gonna give it a go and see what happens. So that's kind of like, I have mixed feelings about that. Now for my little rambly bit, it's not actually going to be that long of a ramble today. I just had like one tiny little thing on my mind that was book related, and it has to do with not readathons, but like reading challenges. So I'm getting pulled in different directions, and I can't help myself. And so I just wanted to see how other people kind of like navigate this. But I love readathons. I love reading challenges. I love a bingo sheet. I love a prompt. I love all of that kind of stuff. I love gamifying my reading. But I mentioned in my 2021 reading goals video that I'm trying to pull back on things like that, just because it becomes a bit too much where I'm seeking out books for the purpose of filling a prompt instead of just reading what's already on my shelf or what's already on my existing TBR. I'm finding all these new things that are not on my TBR. They're just things that fit prompts, if you see what I'm getting at. So I said I was going to scale back on the readathons, either do fewer readathons or participate to a lesser extent. But all of these really interesting reading challenges keep popping up, and I want to do them all. I have not strongly committed, but I have committed to trying to participate in the Invisible Cities reading project as much as I can, where the hosts are choosing 3 different countries every month. And so I'm going to read from as many countries as I can for as many months as I can, because that's something I have an interest in, is to make sure that I'm reading from different viewpoints, people from different countries. So that's fine. But then Brian from Bookish was recapping his 2020 reading year, and he was talking about his experience with the Reading Women Challenge for 2020, and it just sounded like such a good set of challenges. And then I went to their website and looked up the 2021 Reading Women Challenge like list, and it's just so fun. The prompts are really like creative and get you thinking outside the box, reading outside the box. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to participate in this. But then I'm like, do you have time to add another reading challenge? Sorry, there's a plane going overhead. I don't know if you can hear that. Like, do I have time to put another challenge on my list? Like, how many different things am I going to have to keep track of? So yeah, for this week, I want to kind of pose the question, like, how many things is too many things, like, for you? Like, are you someone who likes participating in reading challenges and readathons and whatever as well? Do you set limits on that? Like, I could participate in the Reading Women's Challenge and just say, like, I'm going to do, like, I don't know, like 25% of these prompts instead of like the whole thing or half the thing or whatever. So do you like limit how much you participate? Are you more selective with the challenges you participate in? Or I'd also be interested to hear from those of you who don't really participate in reading challenges and just read what you want to read, and what your philosophy is, I guess, around that, or like how you make your choices of like what goes onto your TBR, and how you select a TBR for the month. And I know those of you out there who don't select TBRs for the month and are just mood readers, and I'm just interested in like different opinions surrounding how we choose what we're going to read. So that's all I have on my mind this week. Thanks as always, everyone, for watching. I hope you're all doing well, and we'll chat soon. Take care.